thank you also to David Slitzer and Debbie Coffey for doing readings just now. Readings that are very appropriate on this Palm Sunday as we come together on this special day. What does Easter mean to you? What does Easter mean to you? We're in Holy Week now, coming up to Easter, just a few days. What does it all mean to you? For many people, of course, it means chocolate. A lot of people are eating chocolate next Sunday and beyond, if they haven't already. Wonder how many Easter eggs get eaten before Easter. But anyway, so for a lot of people, it's chocolate. Maybe hot cross buns. It's interesting, isn't it? Hot cross buns are normally eaten cold. And yet, you have to say hot cross buns, don't it? Cross buns just doesn't do it, really, does it? So you buy hot cross buns, which you eat cold. Most people, anyway, most of the time. And these days, they come in all sorts of different varieties. I was in a shop yesterday, and it's quite amazing how many different flavours they come in these days. But hot cross buns, with the buns with the cross to remind us of Easter. Maybe some people, it's a holiday. My grandsons are now on holiday from school. Yay. So that's good. So the children are enjoying that. And some people, we're going to have 2 bank holidays, of course, that's for everyone. But some people will actually be going away on holiday. Of course, the word holiday comes originally from holy day. People took time off when it was a holy day. And if you're going away for holiday, have a great time. But as Christians, of course, we want to mark it as a holy day. We need to take some time to remember what it's about. A holy day, or holy days, in fact. Interesting fact, or you might not find it very interesting to me anyway, that by law, I am not allowed to be on holiday at Easter. By law. Vicars, and I think all clergy, I'm not quite sure, but certainly vicars, they're not allowed to be on holiday Easter, Christmas, and I think it might be Pentecost, but I don't know for definite. So, if I ever don't turn up on Easter, you can send for the police, because it's against the law. I've got to be here, unless I'm unwell, of course. So there you are. But it is a holy day, even if not a holiday for me. But there's still the bank holidays, of course. What does Easter mean to you? All sorts of things. Maybe a special meal, a family meal for many people. Not maybe to the size of Christmas dinner, but maybe a special meal with family. All sorts of things happen at Easter. Hope of good weather to come, perhaps, as well. What does Easter mean to you? Well, I have to say, this year in particular, I'm feeling a bit nervous about Easter. Not just because I've got lots to do and lots of services to prepare, and it is a bit nerve-wracking standing up here, I can tell you, and other things. So there's that, of course. Is that right? Yes. But not nervous for that reason. I'm nervous because Easter takes us to a deep place. It's the longest week in the year. Of course, it doesn't feel like that if you're busy. It feels like a very short week. We cover a lot of space. Lots of things between now and next Sunday. So, you think of, today we celebrate Jesus coming into Jerusalem on the donkey. And if you don't come along, or if you don't recognise or enter into all that happens between now and next Sunday, it must seem a bit strange. If you didn't know the Christian story, and you came along this Sunday, and then next Sunday, it's like Jesus has been celebrated as king, and then next week we're celebrating Jesus is alive. And you think, what does that mean? So much covers this week. I'm nervous because Easter takes you to some very deep places. It's a long week in the sense of the extent of all that it covers. In my life and in your life, no doubt there's lots going on, and lots has gone on in our lives. And Easter brings them to the surface. You know, it's a bit like the difficult things in our lives. It's a bit like when a wound is opened and you feel exposed. And yet sometimes a wound needs to be exposed so that healing flows into that wound. In the same way, we've got wounds in our lives, things that have been hard and difficult, maybe at the moment, maybe in the past. And Easter somehow brings them to the surface, and it's uncomfortable, makes me nervous and anxious. And yet, as we enter into Easter, healing flows into what's gone before. I think that's part of the message of Palm Sunday, and the reading that we had from Matthew's Gospel, and the other readings as well, actually. We're going to be handing out palm crosses, as I mentioned earlier, and the palm cross itself that we give you is a reminder of these things. We can take the palm cross and we can use it to remind ourselves this week and actually the whole year of all that Christ has done for us to bring healing into our lives and into our world. Maybe you might want to put your palm cross in your Bible. You might want to put it up somewhere in your house to remind you. Some people put it up in their car. You see it hanging from people's the mirror on their windscreen. Somewhere to remind us of what Easter, what Christ, what life is all about. So what we've seen in the reading, what comes to us through the palm cross? Well, one of the things that jumps out to us is that Jesus was acknowledged to be the King. The King, the Messiah, the prophet who came from the Lord. Now, I don't know if you've got a really best coat. Who would you be willing to lay down your best coat so that they could walk on it? I wonder if there's anyone that you would do that. Of course, in English history, famously, Sir Walter Raleigh put down his cloak so that Elizabeth I wouldn't get her feet muddy in a puddle. Probably Walter Raleigh had lots of coats. He was quite a wealthy person. So maybe it was not quite his best one, although I don't think Elizabeth I would have been too pleased if it was a second-rate one. But the people that were around on Palm Sunday, when Jesus came into Jerusalem and rode on a donkey into Jerusalem, the people who laid down their cloaks for him to ride over, most of them, they would have only had one cloak. People weren't that wealthy. And that cloak wasn't just to keep them warm on a cold day, and sometimes it does get cold in Israel. It wasn't just to keep them warm, but it was also to keep them warm at night. It was their, what they wore, they covered themselves with when they slept. So this was an important garment, and yet they recognised that Jesus was so important that they laid it down so that he could ride over it with his donkey. And they also put the palms down, of course, from which we get palm crosses, branches. But they put down their cloaks. Now, you have to think about this. This is so that a donkey can ride over it with Jesus. There's all sorts of accidents that can happen there, isn't there, with your best cloak. One year we've got to have a donkey for our Palm Sunday. We must do that. I spoke to Lionel, who's our resident farmer, this morning. He was at the first service, and he's going to be looking around for any of his mates, farmer mates, that got a donkey. We must do it. Be great. They do it in some churches. In fact, someone was telling me in London, that some of the churches there, they get together and they walk through the streets of London with following after a donkey to symbolise what happened on Palm Sunday. We must do it in church, but of course there's a big risk, isn't there? A nice carpet. And donkeys and all animals really are notorious, aren't they? But we will take the risk 1 year. We must do that. So we're going to do that. Failing, if not, we'll have to get Steve to dress up as a donkey. Sorry, Steve. Keep picking on you. But you know, the point is that they were willing to put something precious on the ground and to acknowledge that Jesus was the King. It's declared that he's the Son of David. They say Hosanna, which is a word of praise to God, that God saves them. Hosanna. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. It's a Messiah statement from the Bible. He is the Messiah. He is the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven. And he's the prophet. So this Easter, let's recall that Jesus is the Lord, before whom every knee should bow, and we proclaim him to be the Lord. But also, in this reading, we see the hints that this is not an ordinary king. The people were inviting him as king, but actually he goes so much deeper than just being the king of their everyday lives. He goes far deeper. Already in Matthew's Gospel it said that he's going to go to the way of the cross. And now, and we're going to see that, of course, over the coming days, as we enter into, especially on Good Friday, what he did for us. And we see that here as Jesus enters in, as the palm cross reminds us it's a cross, not just a palm. He's coming to die for us. We see that actually in the donkey. Now, I mentioned having a donkey, and I talked to Lionel, our farmer, afterwards, after the service, and he said actually donkeys are the most obstinate animals possible. So we might get a donkey, but will he come into church? Will he do what we want him to do? We don't really know. And also, interestingly, Lionel said he's ridden a donkey bareback in the past, and he says they're the most uncomfortable ride as well. Not like riding a horse, but really uncomfortable. Apparently their backbones are really protrude quite a lot. Famously, of course, they have the cross on them, which ties in very much with this account of Jesus riding a donkey. But their backbone is uncomfortable to ride on, and he got thrown over the head of the donkey when the donkey didn't want to go anymore. So it could be quite interesting if we do have a donkey. But Jesus chose to ride a donkey. Interestingly, this is the only time that we hear that Jesus didn't walk somewhere. He walked everywhere. This is the only time he uses any transport. He does it deliberately. It's not because he's weak. He's strong. He's walked all over the Holy Land. But now he chooses to ride a donkey. He could have rode a war horse to show his power, but he rides a donkey to show his humility, and he comes in peace. And not only that, Matthew makes it even clearer, and he's the only gospel that points this out. It happened that the other gospel writers don't make a big thing of it, but Matthew says it's actually on the foal of a donkey that he rode, the colt, like a teenage donkey, really. So if you can imagine a donkey that's like a teenager, a bit rebellious, this is the one that Jesus is riding. Probably the mother donkey is also there, because it mentions two donkeys. The mother donkey is to calm the colt, the foal down. But Jesus rides on a young donkey to show humility. And interestingly, it's also brought out because it's the children in particular who praise Jesus. So humbleness is declared by the children doing it. And a young donkey, a child donkey if you like, emphasises Jesus comes in humility because he's coming as king. go deeper in our lives, to bring a healing. So let's declare him to be king, but let's invite him in this Easter afresh to bring healing